stares at the moon, the ribbons out of tune, the memories of the past, the bottom of the glass, and resting on a cheek, the imprint of his ring, a symbol of the week, commissioned by the king. Did he tie you down? Did you make a sound? An angel again, an angel again.
We'll all be back after this word from our alternate sponsor.
Wake up. To get your things together and drive away. Breathe out. Future days will treat you better.
What do I say? There's so much. There's so much, but
you were thinking something there.
well, I was saying, you know, what am I going to say to that little boy had I gone back to him in that state of confusion and turmoil? Is get ready, because you are going to struggle, you are going to have pain, and I don't know how to tell you how to get out of it. So be ready. But now I'm able to go back to him and hold him and tell him, you know, it's going to be okay. And you are going to have a suit of armor when you get through it. And it's going to be difficult. I'm here to tell you, we get through it. And now I'm at a place where I can go back and I can hold your hand and I can walk you through the fire. And we get out on the other side. I love to make people laugh. I was just drawn to old movies, anything black and white. My mom and my dad were going through a divorce, and my dad was looking for something to do with his son. Brian was a dialogue coach on The Amanda Show, and met him the first day of the second season when we did a table read. Brian and I became really close because we had a lot of the same interests, which, looking back, I think that was probably a little calculated.
I was told that Brian was a good coach and that he could really get Drake some jobs. Well, he said, oh, well, you need to come to my house because that's where I give the lessons. But I was always within eye distance of them, somewhere where I could always keep my eyes on Drake. And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. Be feeding him some lines or whatever and put his arm around his waist. Put his hand up on his shoulder and kind of run it down his arm and things like that. And this would happen routinely. And the thing is, this is in front of people. So I went to production and said, you know, I really am very uncomfortable with this guy, Brian Peck, always being around my son. You just don't understand that he's a touchy-feely guy.
That's when it started to get a little bit more extracurricular than normal. Brian would drive to San Diego to see a concert I was playing.
There was a time that I set up a concert at Strawberry Festival for Drake and his band, and who pops up? Brian Peck. Who pops up? Brian's friends. And they're following Drake all through the Strawberry Festival.
I should have left that place as soon as I walked in.
It was my 15th birthday. Brian suggested, oh, hey, you can perform and everybody can come.
And Brian wanted to have it at his house.
I lived in Orange County, which is an hour away, and everyone I wanted to come to my birthday was who I worked with on the show. And so it made it easy.
At 14, I remember going, this relationship's inappropriate.
Yeah.
But assuming...
Well, remember my birthday at his house? Looking back, it was just all like How is nobody seeing like what the intentions are here?
Everybody loved Brian. All the parents loved him too. Your instinct is to give someone the benefit of the doubt. If you've known them for that long, even in the face of like this really bad sign.
But that's right when Brian had got his hooks in. He's the one that started telling Drake that I shouldn't be his manager.
My dad started making it very difficult for Brian to be around me. And so he started to really drive a wedge between my dad and me. Also because I was spending so much time more so around him than I was really my dad. And my mom and my dad had a very tumultuous relationship. They did not get along. And I think Brian saw that.
Drake had stayed at his mom for about a week, and then I got a phone call from his mom saying, Drake doesn't want you to be his manager anymore.
I think he felt like he was going through the divorce with my mom all over again and fighting for me again, you know, just like he did when I was 5 years old, you know? Oh man, this is gonna make me cry thinking about it like that.
Coming like the ice cream man, till I felt his ice cold hands, and how I paid the price now. Damn, goddamn, no, goddamn, everything you did, it left me in a ruin. And no, I didn't say a word, I guess.
Brian just absolutely tricked her, severed me and my son's relationship, and that I wouldn't be seeing him. But I did say to her, and I said this to her in person, I said, but you never, ever leave Drake alone with Brian Peck, and you never let him be around him unsupervised, period, whatsoever.
Very, very quickly, Brian put himself in the position of what my dad was doing my whole life. My mom didn't want to drive to LA. She didn't like driving. So Brian would come and pick me up for auditions. I would end up staying the night because, well, I lived in Orange County and I would have auditions, and then it would be, you know, easier to drive me home the next day instead of driving me home and getting me home at midnight or whatever excuse, you know, he came up with. He had pretty much worked his way into every aspect of my life. One morning, I just opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was sexually assaulting me. I froze and was in complete shock and had no idea what to do. I couldn't run outside, I had my phone. I mean, it was just, you know, what am I, call my mom and be like, hey, this just happened, can you come pick me up? I'll just sit here and wait. I had no car, I didn't drive. I knew that my life was gonna be absolutely, completely different from that point on. I was under the impression that this was just a big, giant secret. And then I got a girlfriend, and I was basically spending all of my time at my girlfriend's house because I felt so safe there. Brian had planned to take me to Disneyland. I was like, this is not happening. I'm not going, no. And Brian's calling my cell phone nonstop. Well, he started calling my girlfriend's house over and over and over and over. Finally, her mom answered and brought it to me. People are watching me on the phone, so I just played it off as like, I must have made double plans, but I'm gonna hang here tonight. And he got really upset, and I hung up the phone, and he started calling back and calling back. And her mom took her about 6 seconds. Said, hey, Drake, can I talk to you in the kitchen for a second? She's like, what's going on? And I go, oh, yeah, Brian, we had plans. She goes, no. A 40-something-year-old man does not call my daughter's boyfriend like that. She took matters into her own hands. She called my mom. She's like, I'm taking Drake to see our therapist tomorrow because something is going on. And we need to figure it out because it seems like he's in quite a bit of danger. And so I went to the therapist, and I just said, nah, you know, everything's normal. It's just, you know, things are getting a little weird, but nothing's happened. But thank good thing we caught it when we did. And then I realized it was just so calculated. It's just like, I was like, wow, you moved all the pieces into place. The whole thing was mental manipulation. The Amanda show, where I felt most comfortable, where I was the happiest, was when I was on set with you guys. And the worst part was every day I got there, the monster was there. Now I'm entering the Drake and Josh phase, where we should be like partners. Like, this is our time. But I came back to the same stage, the same parking lot, the same dressing rooms.
Everything's triggering.
Having the thought of like doing the pilot, is Josh gonna be pissed at me because this might affect the show? When this drops, is Josh gonna look at me and be like, bro, you took our dream away? Without my even realizing it, and obviously without you knowing it or realizing it, starts to put wedges and strains on our relationship moving forward.
I remember, so we had this year or two where we just we were both there, but we weren't really there. I didn't know any of this at 14.
We ended up having to reshoot the pilot for Drake and Josh. And Brian was trying to get me to convince Dan that he should be the dad on the show. He shows up one day, strolling onto set, walking around, everyone's talking, and I'm sitting there going, none of you have any idea what is in process right now.
One Monday morning, these guys said something to the effect of like, Brian isn't going to be here anymore. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say? That was one of the most awkward silences of my life.
It made me wonder immediately about who was being hurt.
It wasn't dealing with anybody on the shows or anything, right?
It was a child actor.
On one of our shows?
Yes.
I didn't go into it in the documentary. I can't tell you what he did to me and this be aired. I mean, it's a big word. But gruesome. I really don't know how to elaborate on that on camera, really. Had letters in his bedside table. He was a pen pal with John Wayne Gacy. And things are happening to me in a room where there's a painting by one of the most prolific serial killers. So now that puts into my mind, how far is this really gonna go? What is really going on in this person's mind? There's a perception of, oh, well, you're in fear of what's gonna happen to your career, or you're in fear of what people will think of you, or you're in fear of this. Am I going to make it out of this room? Is this person gonna find some way to...
You were worried for your life.
Of course. That's the only way to put it. Yeah, it's the simplest way to put it. It was not a one-time thing. It was not a, oops, I couldn't say I no longer wanted to go to Brian's house because then they're gonna raise questions. Well, why don't you wanna go to Brian's? And then, he's so apologetic. Oh, this will never happen again. I'm so sorry, that I don't know what got into me and I crossed the line and this will never happen again. And well, he figured out how to convince my mom and everyone around to have me, anytime I would have an audition or anytime I needed to work on dialogue or anything, I somehow ended up back at Brian's house. I was just trapped and I had no way out. Why don't you do this?
Yeah.
Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault, and that'll answer your question. I just hoped and prayed that one day it would just stop. One day, I was just on the phone with my mom. I just exploded. I have no idea what provoked it. I have no idea what happened, but I just screamed into the phone everything that had been happening to me. I was sitting in the dining room of my mom's house with a few detectives and my mom being asked what happened. I had to be excruciatingly detailed. I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit what he'd done. It looked like a movie. They had an old-style tape recorder attached to a black phone landline. You know, they had their headphones on. He answers. So I said, you know, I'm really struggling with this stuff now. And he just started a full-on confession. And then he kept asking me over and over again. He's like, are we being recorded? Finally, this gets handled, and finally something happens to this person. I was hoping that the outcome would be he goes to jail, he is there for a while, and that he would never be able to work with kids again.
Is that what happened?
No, that is not what happened.
And I remember we're in the car. You still talk to Brian? And you just looked at me like, no, Brian's a really bad guy. And I remember thinking, gotcha. You knew that it was like, finally Brian was going to go to jail and get arrested. And so we start to our friendship starts coming back.
And Drake says they arrested him for molestation. I go, you're kidding.
We were starting to rekindle our relationship, and I just couldn't. So I just said, yeah, they got him. He's like, oh, I'm so glad. I knew he was going to do something to someone. He was not able to get his hands on you.
How did it make you feel when you finally found out?
Are you kidding? I'm not the same today.
His entire side of the courtroom was full. Full. There were definitely some recognizable faces on that side of the room. And my side was me, my mom, and my brother. I didn't know about these letters of support. I mean, knew they existed, but I was expecting close friends, family, of course, whatever. But when they unsealed them for this documentary, I got slapped with 41 letters from people I thought were my friends throughout my career and for years after, that I worked with, that were my friend. And I'm reading these letters that are like, we all know what happened. They're just saying it's not a big deal and that it's my fault, that I was the aggressor.
And I just want to make space for the fact that you should not have to defend any behavior that you had.
That
meaning
well.
it was putting you in this position to have to defend your behavior when you were a vulnerable child.
I was losing my hair. I had these big scabs on my head. I was going to the doctor, and the doctor was asking me, all of your vitals are fine, but how's your stress level these days? I didn't know how to process it. There was no therapy and was left to my own devices. A lot of self-destruction and a lot of self-loathing, really, I wasn't going to address Brian. There was no reason to. I addressed my statement to everyone in the room. I looked at all of them, and I just said, how dare you? And I said, you will forever have the memory of sitting in this courtroom and defending this person. And I will forever have the memory of the person you're defending violating me. And that's what I'll remember. Everything outside of that is very blurry to me, which is a bummer because I experienced a lot of great things in my life and my career during all this time. When I was on set and doing a scene with Josh, I was able to lose myself and just have fun. Your defenses just go up, and you no longer, it makes it really difficult to trust anybody. It makes someone not be...
Can I just, please keep going. Can I just offer one thing?
Yeah.
Can you, instead of saying you, say I?
It was just trees and silence and rolling hills and a lake. I'd just gone through all of my intake, and finally I get my papers and I walk outside and I see where I'm at. And I just go, and it was the first deep breath that I'd taken in I don't know how long. That's what this feels like.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right. If you want to be in my corner and you want to feel that you're supporting me, then show it through love and compassion. You know, maybe going and supporting other survivors instead of attacking people. That's going to be a much healthier way to feel that you are defending and supporting somebody than going and trying to cause pain and hurt to someone else.
Well, you know what? Better days ahead of us.
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
Yeah, well, keep listening to it.
There's victory through getting back up and moving toward the opponent, which is life. And that's, you know, I know he's not going to grow up and say, my dad's perfect. My dad's never made any mistakes. There's nothing you can say about my dad. But I hope that he will be able to say, yeah, but he's my hero.